Hey guys, it's Serena and welcome to my video. Now, if you are new to my channel, you probably already know that I usually post things in regards more of video games or little music covers here and there that I might put up every now and then. But usually it's usually video games because your girl likes to play games. Um, but I thought today I could do something a little more different. Now, if you know me personally, then you know just how much I love hamsters. I love hamsters to the point where I cannot play Hammond in Overwatch because I get extremely upset when Hammond dies and then I see his little body on the floor. I can probably cry. So I can't do it. But another news, I absolutely love Hammond. He's great. But moving away from that, I love hamsters, and the reason for this is because when um when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to have any pets. I had a dog, but when I was growing up, he was a German Shepherd, and his name was Lucky. I spent every day with him. I played outside. We made forts together. We'd explore the wilderness that was where I lived because when I was growing up I lived in a house out in the middle of nowhere where the closest neighbor was probably a mile away. So we had acres of land and my German shepherd and I would explore, but due to things that happened, we ended up uprooting and moving abruptly almost overnight, and I ended up having to let go of my dog. It's actually a pretty tough story to tell because I don't know what the circumstances were, but we had to we had to well, I don't want to say we had to, because now that I'm older, I see that there were a number of different options we could have taken with this, but they chose to leave the dog out in the wilderness. And I watched my best friends just left behind. So, growing up, I never really got close to any other pets. I never got a cat or a dog again, not even so much as a goldfish. So, fast forward to when I was about 19 years old, I went into a Petco for shits and giggles, and I came across this beautiful little gray fur ball. She was a teddy bear hamster, and she was energetic and so lively. And I said, you know what? I think I'm ready. And so I took her home. And, it was a very spontaneous decision on my part. So I started off just as any other hamster person. Hamster person. I started off as any other hamster parent out there, not really knowing what they were doing and just trusting the shop owner to guide you in the right direction. And unfortunately, a lot of that information they gave me, uh, although was in good spirit, was bad information. For example, they told me that a small critter trail, one level cage was going to be big enough for my hamster to thrive in. And me being this naive, uh, I guess, child, then I believed them. And so over time, I did do more research, and my hamster's home did grow bigger and bigger. Unfortunately, it still wasn't the minimum requirement, but I did everything in my power to make her happy. Um, I did upgrade her to about three Critter Trail cages, one being a level one. And for the most, and she had a lot of outside time. I didn't work at the time and I didn't go to school, so um, I did spend a lot of time with her outside of her cage. So it wasn't like she was always pent up, girl. It wasn't like she was always pent up. She would come out and hang out with me a lot, and I absolutely loved her. And ever since then, um, I was hooked. What can I say? Hamsters, they just pull my heartstrings, you know. Um, and she lived for about 2 years, and when she passed, it was very devastating. It was very hard for me, but I tend to believe that she lived a long, happy life, and yeah, so that was my first hamster. A couple years later, because it took me a long time to cope with her passing. A couple years later, on Christmas, my sister surprised me with an orange and white, beautiful, long-haired teddy bear hamster. Um, she was the sweetest. She's probably the sweetest hamster I've ever had. She was nothing but love, and that's when I was doing my research a lot more. So again, she started off with her critter trail cage, which she lived in for, I'm gonna say, a month or so, and then I upgraded her to an aquarium, and I believe it's a 50-gallon breeder aquarium, so it's a pretty decent sized aquarium. As a matter of fact, if you look right behind me, that's an upside down aquarium that I used. See? So it's a pretty decent size. It's just that it's upside down. That's where um, my latest hamster that passed used to live in, right there. And instead of putting it in storage, I decided to flip it over and use it as a little table. Um, but moving forward, so Gabrielle, that was her name. She was nothing but love, and um, she lived for about 3 years in my care. There was this one story that I absolutely love telling. She managed to get out of her little enclosure one night, and I was asleep. And at the time, I lived in a very small one-bedroom apartment, and my children, they were using the bedroom, so I used to sleep in the living room, and then I tried to convert half of my little kitchen area into my bedroom. So I had like a mattress, I had my bed in there. So I was sleeping on my bed in the kitchen. It sounds bad. And I felt a little tickle on my nose, and it woke me up, of course, because of course you'd wake up because there's something on your nose. And it was Gabrielle, and she was licking my nose to wake me up, to tell me that she had gotten out of her enclosure, and I guess she was tired from her exploring the house or the apartment. She she let me pick her up and take her back into her enclosure, and the first thing she did was drink some water and then went to bed. She was the sweetest, the most loving hamster. Oh, I miss her dearly. So she lived about 3 long years with me, and it was the best. Um, about a year before she passed, again at a Petco, um, I was picking up supplies for Gabrielle when I came across a little gray dwarf hamster. The first thing she did was lounge at the glass right at my face because she was at eye level. So she lounged at my face, and I had to bring her. She was secluded from the rest of the hamsters due to the fact that she was a little bit more aggressive, and pretty much she was kind of a bully, and so she was being kept separate from the rest of the little dwarf hamsters. Because if you don't know, Syrian or teddy bear hamsters are more of a solitary hamster, while dwarf and the the dwarf and the rope, I can't pronounce it, robust. I'll explain. I'll write it out in the bottom. Um, they can be together if they've grown up together. So if they're siblings and they've been together for a long time, they kind of get accustomed to each other. However, there are those cases in where one or two will go rogue and they'll start fighting. And it's just a matter of you keeping an eye on them and separating them whenever they get too aggressive against each other. So this happened to be the case with Chibi Luna. Chibi Luna was my dwarf hamster, and she was just excessively feisty. She was not one of those hamsters that enjoyed being carried or cuddled or anything of that sort. She was her own hamster. Chibi Luna wanted to do what Chibi Luna wanted to do, and there was no telling her otherwise. So she went off, and I fell in love, and I brought her home, and that's when I picked up another aquarium, and she lived in there. And about a year later, Gabriel passed. After my mourning, I moved Chibi Luna, not Gabriel. I moved Chibi Luna into Gabriel's old breeder aquarium, and I had this one over here empty. So about a year after Gabriel passed, I was kind of lounging around through Craigslist, which is something I just kind of like to do. And I just so happened to come across an ad for someone looking to rescue well, not rescue, but take their hamster off their hands because they did not know what they were doing and they no longer wanted to care for it. So I had an empty aquarium. I have a ton of supplies. My Chibi was, Chibi was Chibi. She didn't like being handled. And so I thought, maybe this was it. Maybe I can adopt a new hamster, rescue it off of Craigslist, and maybe you will love me. Maybe this one was a cuddler, unlike Chibi. So that's how I met Napoleon. And Napoleon is a long-haired hamster, a teddy bear hamster, if you will, and he's not a biter, but he is extremely skittish. So that's exactly why this owner no longer wanted this hamster, because it was completely skittish. It didn't like it being handled. It was scared. It would squeak. It was not your cookie cutout of a hamster. Like when you think of having a hamster, you think of something cute and furball, something you could hold in your hand, just kind of cuddle with and love unconditionally. However, if it doesn't fit the criteria, a lot of people no longer want to deal with it. Just like with a dog, they want that cuddly pet, and if it's not what they want, then chances are they're going to try to find a way to get rid of it because it's not what they want. So I didn't want to leave this hamster out in. I didn't want to chance this hamster being left in the care of someone that might not know what to do in this type of a scenario. So I said, yeah, you know what? I will take him off your hands. Let me give it a home. I already have another hamster. They both love each other very much. Yeah, they did. I already have another hamster, and I have experience with handling hamsters, and I know quite a bit about what to do to take care of them. So I went ahead and adopted Napoleon. Now Napoleon, he's such a cutie, but he's still very skittish. I think that's just the way he is. He's a skittish little guy. My suspicion is that while when he was born and he was a new little guy, hey baby, when he was born, or when he was a lot younger, um, he got handled very, oh, how do I put it? He wasn't treated very well. That's my suspicion because he's very jumpy. Uh, we have progressed quite a bit. He's been in my care since I'm gonna say about November, October of 2018, and we have progressed today. It's May of 2019, so he's been in my care for about half a year, a little bit over, and we have progressed. We have bonded. He still jumps if I go to pet him, but I never pick him up because he gets too scared and he kind of freezes up. And the last thing I want to do is cause him to have a panic attack and faint or whatever, or worse. So I lightly pet him, and before, he would not let me pet him. He would run away and he wouldn't let me touch him. And now we progressed to the point where he'll take food from my hand. He'll let me pet him. He'll occasionally, very occasionally, he will jump on my hand and I can pet him. Of course, as long as I keep my hand low so that way if he gets uncomfortable, he can jump off and go do what he wants. So, we have made progress in that, which I'm very happy about. Um, and I absolutely love him. So, unfortunately, a couple months after I had adopted him, Chibi Luna passed. I noticed that she wasn't doing very well. She was kind of laying down outside by her food bowl, which is an odd behavior for a hamster. So I went ahead and I went and stroked her, and she kind of wiggled, and that's when I knew that she was in the process of leaving us. So I, over the course of uh, over the course of about 3 hours, she stayed with me, and she just kind of she stayed in my arms until she crossed the Rainbow Bridge, and that was in about that was around December of 2018. Um, so she did pass away, and again, I went through my mourning period, and um, yeah. Oh, this is silly. So fast forward to today. I know I've been rambling on for quite a bit, but fast forward to today. Now, last night I was laying in bed, I was reading a book, and I looked over, and it looked like Napoleon, who, by the way, his actual nickname is FATBOI. Now, if you saw him, which you probably can, he has an Instagram that I haven't been updating as much as I should be. Oh my goodness. Anyways, he's a little round fuzzball, so his nickname is FATBOI. He reacts to it, he responds, so that's his little nickname. So little FATBOI. I noticed that he was scurrying a lot. He was scratching on the glass. He looked to me as if he was bored. Now, Napo- uh, hamsters are usually very active creatures. They usually come out around the time like dusk or right before morning, like during that shift. And he comes out, he uses wheel, but he seemed to be getting bored with the items he had in his habitat. So I decided today that I was gonna go to Petco and see if they had any new little enclosures, any new little I don't know, little toys, something to keep him active so that way he doesn't get bored and he just starts going into that stage where he starts trying to burrow out or try to find a way to get out of the habitat. And I went to Petco and I actually found this cute little hideout, which I have over here. It's a grassy teepee. I know it looks big, but if you don't know, Syrian hamsters are actually quite large. So chances are you're going to have to get them something around the size of what you would get a rat because they are big. Now, when it comes to hamsters and such, a lot of the things that they sell at regular pet stores, they're designed for smaller dwarf hamsters. And although hamsters have the capability of getting themselves really, really small, it's always a nice thing to think of going a size larger in whatever it is that you're getting them. So this little teepee house, this is something that Gabrielle used to have, and she absolutely loved it. She loved climbing it, she loved chewing it, she loved sleeping in it, she liked nesting in it. And so I saw this and I said, hey, this might actually help FATBOI a little bit and give him a new little house so he has more interaction. And I got this big old bag of Carefresh bedding. I would have splurged for the prettier kind, but your girl's on a budget. So this right here, this is actually good for about 2 changes. So about a month's worth of fluff for one habitat. Because you want to give them enough space. Oh my god. There's a hole in my fluff. Look. I'm gonna have to definitely freeze this overnight. Make sure that nothing got in here and started nesting. Because the last thing we need is for little critters, bugs, to show up unexpectedly and uninvited into your hamster's habitat. It's actually a smart idea to freeze your bedding overnight. Oh, not free. Yeah, well, put it somewhere cold so that way any eggs of any critters that might have snuck in or anything will die overnight, and you'll have some fresh, clean bedding for your hamster, guinea pig, or rat, mouse, whatever, ferret, the next day. So that's always a good idea, okay? Now, I also got this. I've never tried it, but it looked fun. It looked like something that he can definitely get into. It's a Timothy Hay carrot little hangout thing. I figured it would be a nice little way to like sneak some treats in there, and he can go ahead and nibble through it and see if he can get in there. I got some yo dips. Of course, when it comes to snacks, it's probably best to get the fresh food and just give them little bits at a time. Be careful, guys, because these do contain a lot of sugar, and especially with dwarf hamsters, they can contribute diabetes pretty easily. So always give this as a snack, not as a meal supplement, okay? Healthy snack, or not healthy snack, healthy treat, not a meal. I also grabbed the Sunburst freeze-dried fruit berry pouch. Again, this is something fairly new. I've never tried these, so I'm going to go ahead and give these a try and see how Napoleon likes them, whether or not it's something that he's interested in, nibbling. And I'll give you guys an update once I know whether or not he's a fan or not. And lastly, And none of my hamsters have ever been much of a chewer, except for Xena. Xena chewed everything. Xena was my very first hamster, just in case you guys missed that or I forgot to mention it. But uh, Xena was my first hamster. Then it was Gabriel, which was my second hamster. And Chibi Luna was my dwarf hamster. And now I have Napoleon. And none of them are really much of a chewers except for Xena. But I figured maybe I should get Napoleon something to chew on so that way he gets something more, he gets a little bit more active. And so I decided to try these bark chews, these You and Me bark chews, and see how he does. Because I've tried the blocks, the little colored blocks. I've tried the cute ones that look like crayons. I've tried the rice puffs, the circle ones. Um, I've tried, what else have I tried? The Melee sprays. I've tried a lot of different things in order to see if it gets him more involved with his habitat. And so far, he's not really interested in any of it. So let's see how he does with this. And again, keep you guys updated and see what goes down. And I believe there was one last thing. Are you up? There you are. Alright, guys. Remember, this is a temporary thing. I'm just having her in here until I get this right here. Until I get this right here cleared out. And then I'm going to, clean it out, disinfect it, flip it over, fill it with fluff, set it up, get it all ready. But she is known to be a little biter. When I went to go get supplies, I came across this little girl. She's a female short-haired calico Syrian hamster. Look at her, isn't she gorgeous? Now this is a critter trail double story habitat. Again, this is completely temporary until I get the one back there set up for her. Let me set her down. I did not go to Petco with the intention of adopting another hamster yet. But when I came across her, she was licking the glass and trying to bite it. She was clawing. She was running back and forth in a panic. And so I went to an employee at Petco and I asked them, "Hey, what's the story behind this hamster?" And they told me that she was recently adopted by another family, but due to the fact that she is extremely bitey, they returned her. And as a matter of fact, when I asked about her, two of the employees seemed very concerned with the amount that she bites humans. And again, she was in her own little enclosure, set to the side. And I asked them to go ahead and let me see her. She wasn't bitey. She was actually a lot tamer than Chibi Luna was. So she let me pet her a couple of times, but she would not let us pick her up. And the employee actually told me that they were concerned that they might not find a home for her because of the fact that she's an excessive biter. Hey, girl. And I thought, I have an empty aquarium at home. Why not? So what I did was I brought her home. It was a spontaneous adoption. I wasn't prepared. I didn't go to Petco with the intent of adopting another hamster. However, I was worried that if I had left her there, she would not find a home. And I have plenty of food. I stock up in food. I use I used True Harvest hamster blend as like a treat, and then I have like the rat pellets that have more nutrients and more substance for hamsters. Um, I have an extra aquarium. I have a lot of toys. I have everything needed for a new hamster, so why not? I figured that I would, I do have the patience, I do have the understanding, and I do have the love to wait out and see and make sure that this hamster gets the proper love and life that she deserves. And she's been nothing but a sweetheart since I brought her home. Um, I do think that what might have happened was that she was being handled a little too roughly, or maybe they were not giving her adequate amount of time for her to adjust, or it could be something as simple as not giving her the proper enclosure to give her plenty of time or plenty of toys for her to interact with that would lead to her being more of a nibbler, as I like to say. Like Leela's from Futurama. I think I just found her name. Nibbler. Hey Nibbler, do you like that? I actually I hadn't picked out a name for her yet. I wanted to check and see what kind of behavior she disclosed before I decided, or we decided, or came up with a name for her. Nibbler seems to fit though. It's cute, it's short like her, and we'll see. We'll see if it sticks. So she's in this so I brought her home, and I did put her in this two-story critter trail, was which actually is where Napoleon came in. When I adopted Napoleon, the old owner had him in this habitat, and I just kind of kept it. I'm a hoarder, I guess, and so I kind of just kept it, and I guess it's gonna serve a purpose right now because it's temporarily keeping Nibbler in a safe environment until I get that up and running for her. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick little update. I will be sharing more footage on her. I will be showing, and once I'm done setting it up, I'll give you guys a little see of how I have both habitats set up, and have some cute little hamster clips to share with you guys. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to share a little bit about all of this that's happening. I'm very excited, I'm very happy, and I am as excited and happy as I am. I'm kind of dreading doing that, but I'm gonna do it because she deserves the best, and I'm gonna do my best to give her what she deserves. Now, before I continue, I know that I've been speaking a lot about hamsters, and just keep in mind that I'm still learning. I learn something new every day. I still check out the hamster forums, and I watch a bunch of people like Aaron's Animals and Hopping Hammy, Strudel TV, that where I get to learn a bunch of different things about in regards to hamsters and their well-being, and I learn something new every day. So don't, by all means, don't take my word as the final thing, like the final say, because I'm just like you guys. I'm still learning, and if you guys want to share anything, share any kind of wisdom with me, by all means, please do. I am always open to learning, I'm always open to advancing my knowledge on hamster well-being, anything well-being really. I just like to learn. Anyway, so yeah, let your girl know. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and time skip to when the hamster Nibbler here is settled in her home, and I will share it with you guys later.